Hey, this is Matthew with BI Polar. In this video on being a PM at Microsoft, I want to share with you the importance of being willing to let others fail. I hope you'll stay with me. Welcome back. If you're new to the series, please make sure to check out the first video where I talk about my goals for the series and the target audience. In essence, I've been a PM at Microsoft for over 15 years, and in this series, I'm going to share the advice that I wish someone had given me when I was first starting. Since I can't go back to give advice to my past self, I want to share advice with you to help you avoid and overcome some of the challenges that I faced. So if you are a PM at Microsoft today, if you're in a similar role or at a similar company, or if being a PM at Microsoft is part of your career plan, this is a series for you, then I hope the advice in this series will be valuable for you. I wish that someone had said this to me when I was first starting. So in past videos, we've talked about some of the collaborative aspects of being a PM at Microsoft. We've talked about the importance of ownership. We've talked about the importance of helping others succeed. And we've talked about the importance of asking the question, what do I cut? And in this video, we're going to kind of tie these tips together, but we're going to talk about the importance of being willing to let others fail. When you own something, you're ultimately responsible for the positive outcomes of the things that you own. You need to deliver what you've promised, and you need to be an effective communicator so that you ask good questions, you share information, so that not only do you get the resources that you need, but you can ensure that when you deliver the things that you deliver, that it's going to meet your stakeholders and your collaborators' expectations in a positive way. So if you own something, you're ultimately responsible for the outcomes. If someone else owns something, they're ultimately responsible for the outcomes. And you need to learn, as a successful PM at Microsoft, you need to learn to step back and let people own their own things, even if you can see them not doing the things that you wish that they would do. And in essence, you can't do someone else's job for them. Very often you want to help, you want to lean in, you want to ensure that everyone is successful. And this is a great reflex to have. This is where contributing to the success of others really comes in. But at some point, you need to step back and let them be the owners that they are. So this is a tough lesson to learn, and it's often one that finding the right balance is trickier than it feels like it should be. So I want to share 3 tips, or in this video, it's really 2 tips and a story. But I want to share 3 tips to sort of reinforce how you can both help your colleagues and your collaborators succeed while also being willing to let them fail. And the first tip is to be clear on what you own and to help others achieve clarity on what they own as well. In the past video on ownership, I shared this definition that my team has for what ownership means, and I mentioned that in my team meetings and ongoing communication, I make a very concerted effort to build this shared understanding of ownership on my team, so there's never any ambiguity. There's never any unnecessary ambiguity on what a given team member, what a given PM needs to deliver. Not everybody has this clarity. Not everybody has this really crisp definition of outcomes and expectations. And as you are collaborating with someone and maybe you see them not communicating as effectively as you'd like, maybe you see them not setting expectations, maybe you see them not meeting the expectations that they've already set, this is an opportunity for you to lean in to ensure that they understand what's expected of them, at least what you perceive is expected of them. Because if you're not their boss, you often don't get the opportunity to set their priorities or their requirements. But when we're talking about having clarity on your ownership and theirs, Typically, when you're in a conversation with someone and you are concerned that they may fail, this is because your work depends on their work, or there's some sort of overlap or interdependency between the things that you own and the things that they own. This is an opportunity for you to ask good questions so that they can gain that clarity or build for themselves that clarity on what they're expected to do. So asking, for example, like, when are they going to deliver a given thing? What are they waiting for you, or what are they expecting from you? Like ask the questions so that they can say what they perceive or what they believe right now. And then maybe ask follow-up questions as well, where you see their behaviors not matching their words. So if they say that they're going to deliver a given thing, and what you've seen in the past is that they overpromise and underdeliver, or they overpromise and deliver late, maybe this is the opportunity for you to ask for an interim deliverable, or is there a way for me to be involved earlier to make sure that I understand what the progress is, so that when the things that I care about are coming in, that I'm prepared to take advantage of the work that you're doing. So this first tip, build this clarity on what you own and help others build the clarity on what they own, so that whether or not they end up delivering, you've done what you can. And this is a great segue into the second tip, which is to be a guardrail, but not a safety net. You've probably heard the old saying, your failure to prepare does not constitute an emergency on my part. Like, very often, other people's failure to prepare ends up being the fire drill that undermines the whole team. It becomes everybody's emergency. And when I talk about being a guardrail and not a safety net, this is what I mean. A guardrail, like thinking literally about guardrails, about the metal barriers that are on the sides of some roads, a guardrail serves multiple purposes. So the first one is it provides this clear visual and physical indicator of where the danger zone is, right? So it's hard as a driver to miss this metal thing that's on the side of the road. You don't want to drive into it, so the guardrail helps keep you on the road. A guardrail also helps minimize or reduce the impact of a collision. So if you're driving off the road for one reason or another, the guardrail will help slow you down. It will help keep you closer to the road, at least in theory. Hitting the guardrail will keep you from greater injury or more serious injury. As a PM, you can be a guardrail for your collaborators and your colleagues, and this is in many ways what the goal of that first tip is. So be clear on what you own, help them build clarity on what they own. This is the mindset. This is the proactive guardrail type behavior. But when I say to be a guardrail and not a safety net, this means that you're there to help them from messing up. You're there to proactively reduce the impact of their failures. You are not there to catch them when they fall. Because very often, if someone is in over their head, or they're not successfully working to achieve their goals and to truly own the work that they own, this all comes to a head at the end, right? It's always, I'm on track. Oh no, I was never on track. Yes, we're going to hit the deadline. Oh, we just missed the deadline, and now there's going to be at least another 6 weeks or 6 months before we hit the thing that we should have hit last week. It seems like it always comes to this. And if you have the mindset of being a guardrail rather than a safety net, this proactive work can help others succeed, but it also means that you don't need to try to catch them when they fall. If they don't take advantage of the available resources, if they miss the opportunities that you're giving them, this is where you need to be willing to let them fall and to face the consequences of their own actions. For my third point, I mentioned it up at the top of the video, the third tip is not going to be a tip. It's going to be a story. And this is a personal story from my career at Microsoft. We're back in the summer of 2015, so almost 10 years ago. I had a major milestone coming up. So we were just getting ready to release into public preview a new cloud service. And I was one of the PM owners of a large part of the service and a large part of that experience. And another member of the broader team had gone dark. So he wasn't actually a member of my team, but he was a team that needed to deliver content in order to support this launch. And he wasn't responding to emails. He wasn't showing up to meetings. Like, I just didn't know what to do. So I did his job. Over the course of the July 4th holiday weekend, I worked 16 or 20-hour days. I was doing my job at a very hot time because there were things that I owned and I needed to deliver on. But I also stepped up and did all of his work as well. And I'm not going to go into too much details, even though it was almost 10 years ago. I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. But at the end of the weekend, everything was ready. We had the launch that we were hoping to have. And I came into the office on Monday morning with a smile on my face. And my manager pulled me into her office and ripped me a new one. It's the only time that a manager at Microsoft has ever actually yelled at me. And she basically, in no uncertain terms, let me know that I was not to ever do that again. I was not to burn the midnight oil. I was not to go above and beyond. And at the end of this conversation, she looked at me and she said, "Matthew, letting others fail is a principal level behavior. Until you learn this, you are never going to get that promotion to principal." And that was the end of the conversation, and it really gave me food for thought. And here's the deal. Every time that you do someone else's job for them, every time that someone is able to deliver the things that they own, not because of their work, but because of your work, you've failed yourself. You've failed them, and you've failed the broader organization. And the reason for this is that their leaders and your leaders most of the time will look at the outcomes and say, this was a success. We had the right people, we had enough people, and we had people working successfully. If we do this same thing again, if we use these people and give them these responsibilities again, we will be able to achieve these similar goals again. And this means that the Herculean effort that you put in, that extra mile that you ran, the midnight oil that you burned, this has just become table stakes. This has become the norm. This has become the baseline for future activities. And it's been because of your well-intentioned effort. So let's step back for a second from work. Imagine you're at the gym. So you're helping a friend work out. You might be a coach, helping them use proper form or perform the exercise in the proper way. You might be a spotter, like you might be there to help them if they're like pushing for their bench press to achieve a personal record or to do something that they don't know that they can do safely on their own. As a spotter, you can be there to take a little bit of the load off if you need to, hoping that you don't need to. This is positive behavior. What you can't do is you can't do the exercise for them. So if you're there, it's like, oh, it's time for the bench press, and you do the work, like at some point they're going to be at the gym or they're going to be in a competition. And when they need to do the work themselves without you there to do it for them, they're going to fail, perhaps injuring themselves or injuring others in the process. This is what doing someone else's job for them entails. Like, this is the consequence that you're producing. And this is why you need to be willing to let others fail if they're not doing their job along the way. So that's what we have for this video. This has been much harder to record than any of the other videos in the series so far. It's kind of a difficult balance to find whether you're doing it or communicating about it. But As you've gone through all of the edits to get to this point, let me know what you think. Is this valuable? Have you learned this lesson yourself? Has another manager or another leader communicated things to you throughout your career that reinforces or contradicts what I've shared here? Either way, please do let me know. I'm relying on your feedback, your comments, your interaction to let me know if these videos are valuable. I look forward to your feedback, and I look forward to seeing you next week as well. We'll see you then.